Hey everyone, Burning Crusade was released just over 14 years ago as of the time of writing this, and it has been historically one of the fastest growing expansions in terms of new players coming into the game, which put World of Warcraft as a whole in a position of strength in the gaming industry. And with the game being so popular and mainstream during that expansion, there was also a lot of really funny stories and events that developed throughout its lifespan. Today, we're gonna talk about a few of those stories that took place during Burning Crusade. We're gonna jump back into a time where the iPhone has just been announced and where Avril Lavigne was still rocking on MTV. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
Though tensions have risen between the Alliance and the Horde, the true enemy of the world lies unseen. Beyond the dark portal lies a universe of unending conflict.
Let's start from the beginning, the opening of the Dark Portal. Blizzard came to learn that day that an expansion launch is not to be taken lightly. In their naiveness, Blizzard opened the floodgates to Outland by putting both factions spread across two continents in one single zone. Servers lagged, others crashed, and the ones that were even remotely playable turned into a bloodbath, with both factions being put in a single location which wasn't at all protected against PvP. From then on, Blizzard always launched new expansions with ways to spread players as much as possible, and not have literal server bottlenecks the moment millions of players learn that a new expansion to their favorite game is launching that night. It will be interesting to see how servers will handle the load once Classic TBC launches, but if Classic WoW or the recent expansions is anything to go with, the launch will probably be pretty smooth in comparison. But if you're watching this after launch, let me know in the comments how your TBC launch experience was.
I'm Mr. T, and this is my Night Elf Mohawk.
Cut, T, there's no such thing as a Night Elf Mohawk.
Shut up, fool! Like I was saying, my Mohawk storms through mighty forests on his frost saber. My Mohawk...
Another thing that helped secure World of Warcraft a spot in pop culture is the TV commercials that Blizzard would put up on popular channels. This trend started during Burning Crusade and went all throughout Wrath of the Lich King and even Cataclysm, I believe. Those TV spots' goal was simple: get some popular celebrity, let them talk about World of Warcraft, and bring more and more players to the game that way. I still remember being a kid at school and telling my friends who never played WoW before how the game is awesome, and they would always reference those TV ad spots. People who never played the game still knew about the game thanks to those. Blizzard has since then unfortunately abandoned those. There have been a couple ones for Battle for Azeroth a few years ago, but those were some cringy inside joke ads that people who didn't know the game would otherwise never understand. The reason why those original TV commercials worked so well is because they invited players who had no idea what the game was. I hope to see those brought again eventually in a good way.
But I'm Athene.
Hi everyone, this is Athene, best ball in the world. Hi everyone, this is Athene, I'm the best ball in the world.
Hi everyone, this is Athene, best ball in the world, and this is my behind the scene clips.
Let's now talk about some famous and infamous players who gained popularity during Burning Crusade and who are now engraved in World of Warcraft's history. To start with, we have Athene. Athene was, and to an extent still is, an eccentric character played by Belgian YouTuber and now Twitch streamer Bashir Boumaza. Boumaza was so good at the game that he decided to document this in a funny and entertaining way, by showing off his skills while filming himself play the game in real life and acting like a complete elitist degenerate on screen, dubbing himself Athene, the best paladin in the world. Accompanied by his quote, boyfriend Furious, Athene and Furious would quickly gain in popularity incredibly fast during the infancy of the internet. Athene is in a way one of the original pioneers of YouTube, where he would get tens of thousands of views per video, which was at the time an insane amount of views on YouTube and on the internet in general. He would even release a movie during Wrath of the Lich King. Nowadays, Athene is still streaming. He even streams World of Warcraft from time to time, but the man behind the character has changed a lot. Whether you think Athene is a good or bad person nowadays is up to debate, but what's certain is that this man probably shaped the internet and is now engraved in World of Warcraft's history forever.
I prefer to remember remember the temple as it used to be, not the abomination it has become. My soul bears the burden of my misjudgment, but I have been patient. I have been waiting, and when the time is right, the betrayer will become the betrayed.
Speaking of skilled players, we have the guild Nihilum. Nihilum was to Burning Crusade what Limit is to Shadowlands today. This group of 25 players went to rake in world first for every single raid in TBC except Sunwell Plateau. Their history of dominance actually started before Burning Crusade, in a time where Naxxramas was a raid that less than 1% of players would get to clear. Nihilum was the first guild in the world to hit the final blow to Kel'Thuzad. They would go from there and rake in every world first in Burning Crusade. And bosses back then were not what they are today. There was next to no testing done on those raids, and they all released at once the moment the expansion launched. So Nihilum had to fight those bosses in their overtuned and sometimes bugged states, but they would still manage to get every boss down long before anyone else in the world. Nihilum would then merge with the guild SK Gaming to form Insidia, and the rest is history. But Nihilum is engraved in Burning Crusade's history forever now. They were the first real popular incredibly talented guild in World of Warcraft. Speaking of skilled players, let's talk about ZEUZO. This player was a rogue in Method who was known as one of the first players in the world to get the 2 legendary Warglaives of Azeroth from Illidan. His character was fully decked, and because of that, this brought the attention of another player on that realm called Shax. Shax started whispering in ZEUZO's ear, offering him thousands of dollars in exchange for his character, but ZEUZO always declined the offer. Until one day, ZEUZO decided to quit the game for real-life reasons. And in that process, he decided to accept Shax's offer. ZEUZO sold his character for 7,000 euros, which was back in the day the equivalent of 10,000 US dollars in today's money, with inflation taken into consideration. The deal was made, ZEUZO left the game, and Shax took the account, renamed the character, and started playing the game with it. The thing is that back in Burning Crusade, realm transfers were not a thing, and realms still felt like a small community. For the most part, everyone knew everyone, and if you have 2 Warglaives, you can bet that the moment you go from topping the meters to being incredibly bad at your class, players will notice. And players did notice and did report, and Shax's newly acquired rogue only lasted for a few days before getting banned. A funny story that is there to remind players how they should really avoid any forms of account sharing, especially if it's in exchange for money, because eventually that account will get caught and banned. Another story about players who broke the game rules is the infamous player who turned to the world's oldest profession to finance her epic flying mount. In 2007, this post appears on Craigslist. Hello, I need 5,000 World of Warcraft gold for my epic flying mount. In return, you can mount me. You have to have an account on the Laughing Skull server with 5,000 gold before we do anything. We can make the trade at your place since I can't host. A few days later, the person then posts a reply on her thread, taunting players saying the following. Hi, I'd just like to thank all the idiots that thought it would be funny to post my picture all over the internet and make 50,000 threads about me on the WoW forums. I got my epic flying mount in about an hour, and that was very enjoyable for both parties. While all of you idiots probably spent hundreds of hours for yours and don't even have them. I won't be revealing my name or his, but suffice to say, if I find any of you in-game, I will be killing you 280% faster. So talk all the trash you want. I got my epic flying mount and I got laid, which is most of you failures can ever hope for. To this day, it's unknown if this players got banned or not for doing this, but it is safe to say that this story is one of the most hilarious ones that took place during Burning Crusade and in World of Warcraft as a whole. Next up, let's talk about WarcraftMovies. If you've been playing the game during Burning Crusade, Wrath, or Cataclysm, you'll probably remember this website. WarcraftMovies was the YouTube of the time when it comes to anything WoW related. In it, we saw the birth of some of the most popular videos on the internet, like Leroy Jenkins, Tales of the Past, All the Wreckful videos, World of Warcraft, and much more. WarcraftMovies was for a long time the nerdiest place on the internet where you could share any videos you made in exchange for nothing more than a couple eyeballs on your content. WarcraftMovies was later on replaced by YouTube as players found that it's just a better platform for sharing videos, and on top of that, you could even make money from it. And unfortunately today, WarcraftMovies barely even works. If you manage to get on it, you'll find that most of the content was deleted or lost in the depths of the internet. It is unfortunate, but the world has moved on, and WarcraftMovies will always stay in our memories as that one nerdy corner of the internet where anyone got to share their creation to the rest of the World of Warcraft community.
I had no idea that one day I would be standing up here welcoming almost 8,000 people to our very first BlizzCon.
Finally, I wanted to include this here, the original first ever BlizzCon. BlizzCon nowadays is this big annual gaming convention that takes in tens of thousands of people every year. Well, at least when the world still worked. And where Blizzard gets to advertise their old, current, and upcoming projects to the gaming world. But BlizzCon was never meant to be that in the first place. Originally, it was only meant to be a small gathering of Blizzard fans. In fact, the first ever BlizzCon, which was held in 2005, only had 4,000 people attending, 40 times less than the one in 2018. That BlizzCon is where we first got to hear about Burning Crusade. Attendees were presented with those super early sketches of the game, and what on earth is a Blood Elf or Draenei anyways? You could clearly see back then how Blizzard was more relaxed and less corporate.
So we'll start off with the definition of a raid, because it's PowerPoint and we gotta be corporate and no, I'm just kidding. The dictionary there's a lot to be said for that moment when you're sitting in Orgrimmar as a newbie and somebody runs through in like all raid gear and you're like, wow, that guy must be so powerful. Or eBay or something.
You had Jeff Kaplan, who was still on the WoW team at the time, cracking jokes at players who sold their accounts on eBay, and the first ever test of Onyxia. It was just a gathering of a couple thousand geeks who wanted to spend their lives thinking about nothing more than video games for the next 2 days. I really miss those times where Blizzard was more relaxed and not so corporate as they are nowadays, and I hope to see that brought back somehow one day. So with that, this marks the end of this video. I had a lot of fun making it, but there's a lot of things that I didn't talk about here. If you guys can remember any of those popular stories that took place during Burning Crusade, please leave them in the comments for us all to remember. Classic Burning Crusade is right around the corner, and we will hopefully, even if it's just ever so slightly, get to relive those memories in-game very soon. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.